to the latest episode of 305 Vox Populi here in the town of Miami Lakes. I'm Mayor Manny Cid. We got a great guest today. We got Maurits Acosta with us. How you doing, Maurits?
I'm doing good, Mayor. Thank you for the invite.
Appreciate you being on, and I'll do a quick intro about Maurits. He's the youngest guest that we've had on Vox Populi. He's 15 years old. He's a freshman at HML. He's doing great things. He's part of our Youth Activities Task Force here in the town of Miami Lakes, and he has a nonprofit organization that he's going to be talking about in a few minutes to inspire future generations. So we appreciate you coming on. We're powered by Miami Lakes AutoMall. Shout out to Fred Center. I know we're going to have a show there very soon. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be going live from Miami Lakes AutoMall. So pretty cool. Lou's already getting ideas that he's going to jump in some of the Corvettes and drive around and during the show. So they're located at 16600 Northwest 57th Avenue, Miami Lakes. Their phone number is 305-455-3510. Maurits, talk to me about this mural. What do you think?
I love it. It's beautiful, very well done. I remember seeing when you guys first painted it, and it came out great.
So it was a school counselor, Grisel Gajano. She does awesome job. She was inspired by Matter Lakes Broadcasting, by the students, and at night she would come in and paint this, and she did it just for them. And you can reach her at 786-353-8608. What's really cool is that other people have seen her work on our podcast, and I saw that she got hired by another school, and I was there not too long ago, and I saw a mural that she painted for that school, and it was amazing. So shout out to Grisel. Food sponsor, Joseph. I know he stepped out a little bit ago. He wanted to make sure that you all were fed after the program. So appreciate you. Our film production team, Matter Lakes Broadcasting. These folks do a great job. We were talking a little bit ago about where they're going to college next year, what their dreams and aspirations are. But I appreciate them because this senior class has really worked along with Ariel, Albert, and Lou to take this podcast to the next level, but more importantly, to take their school to the next level. What they've done, they've become the envy of all broadcast academies in South Florida. So kudos to you all. And to our newest sponsor, I know we recognized him last time, Enrique Santos. Enrique and Harold, Enrique was on not too long ago, and they donated the Roadcaster, which was phenomenal. And now we're using it now. It's taken this podcast to the next level. But I know you guys are going to be using the Roadcaster for other things. I already heard they're going to be using this Roadcaster at sports games. So they're going to be putting music, and then, if they're in class and somebody wants to call in and add some information, they can do all that through the Roadcaster. So thanks, Enrique. Thank you, Harold. We appreciate you all. So Maurits, to you, and at 15, I'll share the story how I met you. I think you were in the 7th grade.
Yes.
And I visit Lisa Diarza's classroom at Miami Lakes Middle School, and we're talking civics, right? We're talking different ideas, and we're talking civics. And you were completely engaged. You were like, you talked to Lisa Diarza, and you got my phone number, and you were texting me right away like, Mayor, I want to make sure I make a difference in my community. I want to make sure we do this. These are the issues going on. There's issues with flooding. I want to make it. You've literally passed a municipal ordinance. So just giving that little quick tidbit, why do it? Why at such a young age when most 7th, 8th, and freshmen, right, in high school graders are just online, posting stuff, playing video games, going out, hanging out in the park or whatever. Why put all your energy and focus, not only in your education, but in helping other people and improving the lives of other human beings? Why do that at such a young age?
Well, Mayor, thank you for having me here. And that's a very good question. Many of my peers, they understand the concept of giving back to their community and of service, but a lot of them, they don't spend their time doing so. And I think it's very important that we work hard to make change in our community, and that we work hard to try to make a difference. And my way of doing that was how it started in the town with working on the municipal ordinances with you. And that was sort of an inspiration to me. But I think, why do it? It's at the end of the day, it's for the betterment of those around you. And that's what I think is important.
So, on top of that, not only did you do that, but now you're part of the Youth Activities Task Force. You lobbied the Miami Lakes Education Advisory Board to add a student representative, which is happening now thanks to your efforts. But you created this new program, the new nonprofit that you're working on to get other youth to follow in your footsteps. So what's the name of that nonprofit? And talk to us a bit about
So
that.
the name is Virtutem Populo.
Repeat that one more time. So
Virtutem Populo. It's Latin. It means a power to the people. And it's a project I'm starting. I'm currently in the process of trying to complete all the paperwork and hopefully file for nonprofit soon. But this project is something that I decided to start to encourage youth to live a civically minded lifestyle. I've come to learn that civics is not something that you can learn from a textbook in a classroom. It's something that you have to go out and practice. Civics is not a subject. I like to think of it as a way of life. It's going to your government officials, talking to them, reading the news, knowing what's happening in your community. And so this project, it hopes to do a couple of things here, and that's one, provide youth with the proper resources to start a community project. If there's someone who wants to go out there, start change, make a project that helps others, we want to be able to help them achieve that. We also plan to advocate for youth representation in government. And that's something that I was able to do on the Education Advisory Board. I noticed there wasn't a student member on it. And so last July, I started going to their meetings. Every single meeting, I would give similar public comment, board members, and I would state my point on why I think it's important that we have youth representation on there. So that's the project, Virtutem Populo, to try to get youth involved in government and to help youth out in getting involved.
I think that's phenomenal. One of the cool points that you mentioned was civics is a way of life, right? It's a mindset. And what I tell everybody is I always laugh. When I hear adults say, I don't like politics, I don't want politics, I don't want to get involved. I'm like, wait a second. If you're a human being, you're involved some way, somehow in the political sphere, because everything that we do, everything that happens in our society, somebody made rules around it, right? There were politics around it. You go to the barbershop, you go to the hair salon, there's rules that govern that hair salon, that barbershop, that a political process made those decisions. If you ate lunch at your school cafeteria today, from the way that the food was grown, it was harvested, to the way that it got transported, to how it got to your table, to the temperature that it got cooked at, somebody along the way made a decision that it had to happen that way, a political decision. So politics is, and you're right, it's an art form. It's a way that everybody, when people say that they're not, I go, listen, if you're alive, you're a political being, because that's just a fact. So I appreciate you sharing that. So we have one of the things I wanted to challenge you with, because we have three young folks in the room today, right? Who are part of the broadcast academy. So if you could speak to them, I want you to convince them, those three, to join you in your journey with your nonprofit. So how do you get, and they get civics, but how do you convince? And this is the challenge: the three young people, talented young people who are in the room right now, to join you.
I think it's a very simple way of thinking, right? If you want to leave Earth whenever time comes, if you want to leave Earth with an impact, if you want to be remembered, if you want something to change, then the only way to do that is for you to actively pursue that. You can't be passive at home. You know, a lot of adults even these days, they see something they don't like. Most of them, they get their phone, they're going to go on Twitter, they're going to post about it. A lot of them don't take action. So if you guys want to do something to make real change in the world, then the way to do that is to go out there and pursue what you're passionate about and try to leave an impact with that. And that's what we're trying to do at Virtutem Populo. It's provide you guys with the resources to do something like that. Just this morning, I had two girls reach out to me. They're two students at Hareb Christian School, and they want to start a project that has to do with the medical field and sciences, and they want to incorporate their passion for medicine into a way to help the community. And I said, let's schedule a call for next week, and we're going to talk about it some more, and we're going to see what we can do. But it's all about that. You guys are in the Matter Lakes Broadcasting Academy. Maybe there's something that we can do that involves the equipment, what you like to do, your passion for broadcasting, your passion for television production and utilize that into and transform that into a project that ends up serving your community and ends up helping those around you.
All right. So now I want to hear from you three. What do you guys think? Because I think, and I'm getting a little bit of ahead of myself, because we usually have the students ask some questions, but I think this is incredibly important. So I want you guys, and again, I'm getting ahead of myself, but I want you guys to interact, because I think these types of conversations with the youth, him expressing himself, but I want you all to chime in. I mean, what questions do you have for him? He just gave you a pitch, but what questions do you all have for Maurits that can help you make a decision to get involved in some of the ways that he's advocating for?
How do you find the balance between the aspect of being involved in, government and civics and really in general, the aspect of getting involved in something, but still having the childhood experience? How do you find that balance?
That's an excellent question. That's a question I get asked a lot, and it's something that I do have to find myself in and try to adjust. I'm involved in so many different types of extracurricular activities, both inside and outside of school. At my school, I'm class president. I'm in 8 clubs, and then in addition to that, being out here and trying to do something in my community with this project I'm starting, being vice chair of the Youth Activities Task Force, I'm in the Miami-Dade Youth Commission. All of these things, it does take a toll on you, and it does become difficult, and that's sometimes I have to step back and take a look at what I'm doing, and I'm very blessed. I have very supportive parents that are willing to serve like Ubers and drive me around everywhere. So that's definitely something I have going for me. But it's like you said, it is a lot. So sometimes I do have to sit down and reflect and see where I'm spending my time and maybe try to readjust that. Because if I don't put my schedule correctly, then it ends up, I may not have time to do social things with my friends and my family. So I would say that I sit down, I have a calendar, I take a look at my schedule, and I try to see what I can adjust and if I'm spending my time correctly. I think that's very important. It's introspective. Take a look, be honest with yourself. Are you capable of doing what you're doing? I know a lot of people who burn out. They're in too many things, and they're like, I can do it. We need to take a look at ourselves inside. Can we do it? And if the answer is no, then you have to cut down some things. And if the answer is yes, then you keep on going.
Was there one particular project that made you say, okay, I want to do this, and made you have the idea to start your nonprofit?
So I would say everything started at Miami Lakes Middle School, where I went to middle school. My teacher, Mrs. Deyarza, has been a champion in civics education for decades. She's worked at Miami Lakes Middle School for many, many, many years. She's one of the oldest educators in the building. And her skill and the way she teaches is second to none. She believes in active citizenship, and that's how I was able to meet Mayor Manny Cid. She encourages her students to actually work directly hand in hand with government to get things solved, and that's how I was able to work on 2 municipal ordinances in the town of Miami Lakes with the amazing staff here at Town Hall. She promoted that, and she encouraged us. And she led us to do that. She was always there supporting us. And I think it's because of that course I took my 7th and 8th grade year with her that I was able to meet so many amazing people like Mayor Cid. And it's that inspired me. I realized we can do something, and we have done something. And I want to keep on doing that. And I want to spread that to youth all over who maybe did not have a Mrs. Deyarza in their school. I want to be able to make sure that they also understand that they are capable of going out there and making change, and I want to help them do that.
What's one issue that you wish to spearhead in this community, in your demographic?
So an issue in my demographic that I've come to find, and I've spoken at this at other speaking events I've done, it's apathy. And I was speaking with the mayor about it a little bit. Many of my peers, it's almost like a pandemic itself. It's apathy. They don't want to do anything. They don't care. There's no passion. And I think the pandemic has a major play on that. I think motivation dropped tremendously, and we can see that in educational statistics throughout. The pandemic had a big toll on myself and on my peers. And so we need to shift that mindset and try to get rid of it. I think that's the biggest issue. It's just the lack of caring and the lack of motivation. And I think that once we fix that, there's so many more things that our youth is capable of. But that's something that I'd like to start with.
So how do you plan on addressing that issue if you were given the opportunity to do so?
So the opportunity to do so, that's a great question. And so what I plan on doing is with Virtutem Populo, we hopefully plan to go school to school and reach hundreds of schools across the district, and hopefully maybe even start local units of Virtutem Populo at each school. And so we hope to establish a local leadership at each school and have their own mini Virtutem Populo club at schools all over Miami-Dade County. And that gives students a leadership experience, leadership opportunity, and it gives them a place to teach their peers, to go out there and get motivated. And I think it's by youth for youth. And so how I hope to address that is by going physical contact is very, very important. I can post on Instagram all I want, but the best way to do it is by speaking to the individual one-on-one and showing them what's the capability, and that's what I hope to do.
Sounds good. I think he answered all the questions very well. Anybody else have anything else for Maurits? No, thank you guys for doing that. So Maurits, going back to you as a student and having that balance, what is that message? How do we transform the thought process? Because you heard it. I mean, it's difficult, but I think one way is you as an example. I think, right, is how you verbalize things at a young age. You're 15, you're a freshman, and you did recently. Ariel and I were there at Catalyst at St. Thomas for the Institute for Ethical Leadership, and you're in front of PhD folks with PhDs. You're in front of some of the top. You had one of the top developers in the nation there. You had the university president. You had a former one of the county commissioners were there. You had an ambassador to one of the countries there. You had so many people in this room, and you had a TED style conversation, right, with all these folks. And you never once that you showed, right, you never got nervous. How do you do that at such a young age? Because even me at 38, being a mayor, having experience, I've debated things in Tallahassee in the state legislature. I've been up on the dais for 8-10 years, but I still get a little nervous, right? How do you, at that young age, how do you deal with that? Because I think hearing it from you will inspire more kids to be able to speak out the way that you do. But how do you do all that without showing? Maybe you were internally nervous, but without showing that you were nervous.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So I was definitely a little nervous at first. I like to take an approach which I've recently learned these past few months, and it's that once if you have a script in front of you and you're trying to read off the paper, I think that creates nerve. And maybe you agree. Once I get up there and I step aside from the podium and I stand in the middle of the stage without anything, with no paper, and I just go based on what I've practiced and what I have in my mind, I feel like it rolls a lot more smoothly. And it does take a little bit of practice, but what I do is beforehand at speaking events, I'll get a paper, I'll do an outline of what I want to say. I don't like writing it word by word because I feel that does create nerve, and it may distract you because you're trying to say it exactly how you wrote it. And I don't think, we're not capable of memorizing 15-minute speeches on a regular basis, especially if you're doing things back to back. You would know as mayor, if you have 3 speaking events in 1 week, you cannot memorize a 15-minute speech for each of them. So I like doing speaking points, and I'll practice those speaking points, and I'll know what I want to say for each of them. I like to tell it as a story. And so once I'm up there, I may have the speaking points in front of me, and I'll look at a speaking point, and I'll go off that, and I'll start telling the story, how I know it. And that's what I like to do. And I was nervous as I was walking up there, but the moment I stood and I looked at my speaking point and I started talking, it just came naturally, in the sense that I'm not trying to read word by word or trying to memorize something word by word. It's just speak off the cuff, be real, and I think that's important.
Well, look how powerful it is to be able to express your. I'm going to be teaching a speech and debate class next year at Hareb, and I tell the kids, I'm like, listen, and the most important thing is to be able to express yourself. But look how powerful your speech was. If you can share with everybody what happened afterwards, if you can, I think you can. Tell them what happened afterwards, because I think for kids to hear this now, they themselves are going to want to be able to express themselves, do the research, know their have the knowledge base, but tell them what happened afterwards.
So at my speech at St. Thomas University on April 21st, it was a Catalyst event. It's a semesterly event that the Institute for Ethical Leadership has there, and I was invited by Dr. Andenoro, the director of the institute, and I was looking forward for some time, and I got there and I started talking. And afterwards, the president of the university, President Armstrong, he came up to me through Dr. Andenoro, and they offered me a full ride to St. Thomas University on the spot, just from the 15-minute speech I did. It was a true honor to receive something like that.
That's amazing, Maurits, and not only, I mean, you back it up, right? What are your grades like at school?
I haven't had a B since the 4th grade as a quarter grade.
Kudos to you. That's unbelievable.
Thank you.
That's unbelievable. But Maurits, one of the cool things that we do on this podcast, we flip it around, right? We empower our guests. I'm really to ask questions of me. Any questions that you may have, because it's just not. I'm not a fan, and we're not fans of one-way conversations, right? It's kind of like we want folks to, if now throughout the process you had other questions that whatever you have, throw it my way.
So I know before mayor, you served on the youth activities task force as well here in the town, and I've really enjoyed serving on it. I think it's a great way for us to get involved with government. But my question is, what do you as mayor try to do to encourage youth to get involved in the legislative process and to go out there and try to make change and try to express their voice?
The way I met you, right, is going to your classroom. So one of the things that I wanted to break down was the barriers of communication between elected officials and the youth and the people in our community. So what I've set out to do, and I've done every year since, I visit the civics class in every single school in the town at least once or twice a year, and just have open conversations, right? Not one-way conversations, but sit down with the youth, listen, and share my cell phone number. Look, text me. You got a question, you want to get involved, let me know. And that I've seen has helped open up doors, because it breaks down the barrier. Because when I was a kid, for me to talk to a mayor, it was impossible. Like, I never spoke to the mayor of Hialeah when I lived in Hialeah or Miami Lakes ever. Like, it was like, the mayor was in some castle somewhere, and I was just one of the people, and you can never speak to them, right? So I wanted to eliminate that perception, right? That a lot of folks that live in communities never really get to communicate with their mayor in a constructive way. So to me, that was one of the main things that I did is to break down that barrier and go directly to the classrooms. During the pandemic, I did it via Zoom. We did a lot of Zoom conversations, but yeah, I got two schools that I'm visiting next week, the last two that I got to go see this year. But yeah, and on top of that, Youth Activities Task Force, to make sure that kids your age, young people your age, were allowed to get in. Our youth council for the youth center. But on top of that, I proposed, and I got a lot of pushback for it, but I still believe in it, that high school seniors in our community should be allowed to vote in municipal elections. I mean, think about it. You're in the middle of learning civics, learning what better way to put it into practice than voting in your local elections. I try to change that, but it would be a constitutional amendment in Florida, and a lot of my council members at the time were not fans of that change. I think it's having young people vote, it will change the dynamics, because a lot of times you look at communities and they are who the demographic that votes, right? So like if you're the majority are seniors that vote, you see that seniors get all the services, right? If the majority are younger families that vote, you see a shift in park funding. But if everybody that votes is one demographic in terms of an age group, you kind of see the shift in policy. So the more folks across from 90-something years old to seniors in high school that vote, you'll see more of a holistic approach to governance, I think.
That's an interesting approach. And actually, students can pre-register to vote at age 16 already. And for example, at HMA in Hialeah, Miami Lakes, we do a voter drive every year to encourage anyone that's 16 to pre-register so that when they turn 18, they're already registered and they're ready to go and ready to vote. So that's something that can also be encouraged. But I really think that was interesting of allowing seniors to vote.
Yep. Anything else you got for me?
We've had a lot of interesting discussion in the past. But how did you get here, Mayor? I know. Did you always want to get into government? What was the shift in the mind?
So I'll share this before we start wrapping up. I wanted to be a marine biologist. I love the ocean. I still do to this day, but I have an issue, right? I get seasick, So that eliminated that opportunity. I got seasick at the first. My mom took me to John Penny Camp and wanted to put me in a camp to start learning about the seas. But once we went into the glass bottom boat, they had to turn the boat around and drop me off because I got seasick. So I had to learn. I go, it's over. I can't be a marine biologist. So it didn't work out for me. But it's the truth. So I was in college, and actually two professors, Anna Ward and Eloy Velasquez. Eloy Velasquez is still a great friend of mine. He lives here in the town of Miami Lakes. His kids, he's one of the scout leaders. So him and I talk all the time. And then Anna Ward, I got to see her because I had to present one of our issues, the freebie funding in front of her committee, which was the CITT. She was, I think, the former mayor of El Portal. So taking both of their classes at Miami-Dade North, and I know two of the students here today are going to start at Miami-Dade North, really inspired me. Like I was like, I love this. I love civics. I love government. I want to learn more. So that's how I started getting more involved. 2 years later, I was still in school. I was at FIU at the moment. I applied for a job in the state legislature. I never thought I'd get it, but I was pretty ambitious, and I had told the folks, hey, yeah, I'm going to run for mayor one day. So I get hired. I go up to Tallahassee, spend 7 years in Tallahassee, run for office in 2012, run for mayor in 2016. So the rest is history, right? Just that movement, making those choices, and have obviously God had his hand in a lot of it, seeing where we're at today. But yeah, that's how it all started.
Awesome story.
Yeah. So appreciate you coming on. Some final words of inspiration for the youth in our community. What are those words that they need to hear from you to inspire them, middle school, elementary, high school, to follow in your footsteps of being an active citizen?
100%. I would just say, don't be afraid. Go out there, talk to people, introduce yourself, talk about what you're passionate about, pursue it. Don't be scared to get an answer of no. Keep on pushing, and if you see an issue, try to do something about it. I think that's very important. Virtutem Populo is always available to help. You can follow us on Instagram at Virtutem_Populo. And if you guys have any ideas, we're always ready to help you move forward with those ideas, and hopefully something great can be born out of that. Thank you so much for having me, Mayor.
Follow Virtutem Populo. And you know what? We appreciate you coming on. And there you have it. Maurits Acosta, one of the future leaders here in our community. Make sure you tune in next week on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.